Hi ladies and gentlemen, my name's Rob. I'm from Christchurch, New Zealand, and I'm here to tell you about my experiences in the real world about smartphones. We're here to talk about the iPhone 4S, Samsung Galaxy S2, the Nokia Lumia 800, and more recently the iPhone 5. So I first got into smartphones having never ever had one, and expecting that a phone would last for several days without a charge. The iPhone 4S blew that completely out of the water. Basically, smartphones don't last long, power-wise. So the iPhone 4S, if you're using quite a few things, basically if you're doing with a smartphone what a smartphone is made to do, it'll be lucky to last a whole day. So if you are buying a smartphone, bear in mind you need a charger in your car if you're out and about through the day, or you need a charger attached through USB onto your computer at work or at home. So that's the first thing. Now, I had an iPhone 4S and I found it really quite chunky to hold and rather uncomfortable. I bought a case for it, same thing, and quite heavy as well. If you had it in your pocket, you really knew that you had something in your pocket weighing it down. So I kept it for 3 months, used it, sold it, and recently the Galaxy S2 was on sale at $4.99 NZ. So I bought that, very cheap, supposed to be as good as the 4S, half price, couldn't go wrong. Well, on a day like today, you would not read the screen outside. End of. The screens on the Galaxy S2 and S3 are not bright. I would go so far to say they are not bright enough and basically unusable outside. The screen on the S2 is poor. It's something like 800 by 480 pixels. Whatever it is, it's a big step down from the 4S. And while the Galaxy S3 has got far higher resolution, it's still grainy. When you look at it, it's still grainy, and as I say, it's not bright. And when you use them, they're very simplistic, possibly too simplistic. The S2 had ice cream sandwich on, so many buttons, had widgets that just didn't do anything, didn't update, sat there, and basically were quite hard to get rid of. I didn't like it. I lasted 1 week with the S2. I took it back. I was a bit shy here about buying my next phone, so I decided to buy a second-hand Nokia Lumia 800 off of the internet, Trade Me, our local internet auction site. I paid $350 for it, as opposed to $650 if I was buying one brand new out of a shop. Boring. Now, I don't say boring as in simplistic, I mean just really boring. Let's get straight here. Windows 7.5 is rubbish. Do not buy it. The apps, what apps? There may be in excess of 100,000 apps, but they're not the apps you want. Any app that I wanted, you couldn't find. You were locked into Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer renders colors really weird on a Windows 7.5 phone. The screen resolution, again on the Nokia Lumia 800, just not up to scratch. And I don't know, I just didn't even want to touch the phone. Had it a few days, I was bored with it. I knew I'd done my money. So I sold it. And I really thought about this long and hard. I want a smartphone because I want access to the internet. I want to be able to make phone calls. I want to download apps, have a few games, but basically be productive. Have almost a computer in my pocket. Now, I am not an Apple fanboy, but take it from me. who has never had an Apple device before an iPod Touch. I've never owned a MacBook. But once you had the iPhone 4S, the screen is just so superior to anything else. It just ruins your experience of any other phone. Hey, maybe if you've never owned an iPhone and you've never had Retina display, hey, maybe the screens look great. But for practicality, clarity is nothing like it. Practicality on a day like today, on a day like today, turn the brightness up as bright as you want, you can see it. If you can't see a phone outside, what use is it? Are you going to be using it inside? If you're inside, you've probably got a landline anyway. If you're in the real world, you need a bright screen. So, I bought an iPhone 5, and why am I saying that you should buy an iPhone 5? In fact, why am I making this video? Because quite simply, an iPhone 5 works. It does what it's supposed to do. You can access your emails. It's clear, it's easy to use, it's easy to see, it's easy to follow, it's intuitive. Any app that is made is going to be made for the iPhone 5 4S before any other brand, before any Android, before any Windows phone. Let's be realistic about this. Just everything is clearer. Safari browser is fantastic, but you've got options. You can use Firefox or Chrome on the iPhone 5 as well. I wouldn't say that the call clarity is any better, but I will say one thing, is that if you're using a speakerphone, you can actually hear the person on an iPhone 5, whereas on Samsung phones, it's rubbish. Not only is it not loud enough, but people apparently can't hear you very well at the other end. I think it's some conflict between the voice coming out and the voice going in. I don't know, I'm not a technophobe, but hey, if you want a phone that's just going to work, buy an iPhone 5. And if I haven't sold you yet, because I am trying to help, and I read miles of reviews, but in the real world, think about this. If you have an iPhone for 12 months and you want to get rid of it when the new iPhone comes out, or the Galaxy S4 or whatever it is, you will probably be able to get 75% of your money back on that phone when you sell it. The resale value is fantastic. Now in New Zealand here, that basically means that if I keep that iPhone 5 for a year, I'm going to lose $200, $250. Now if I'd bought a smartphone for $200, $250, not only would I have had a bad experience for a year, or at least a lesser experience for a year, but that would have no resale value. So not only is an iPhone 5 the best phone that I've personally seen by a long way, you can use it, but it's also probably the cheapest phone out there. As bizarre as that sounds, it's the cheapest and the best. What more could you ask? Hey, good luck with your next smartphone purchase. Not an Apple fanboy, but I am happy with my purchase of an iPhone 5.